If you want to tank and live your life on the edge, then check out Vengeance Demon Hunters and grab your talent, gear rotation, plus everything you need for Mythic Plus and raids and start tanking right here, right now. Starting off with the talents. For talents, the first row gives us one universal good option, and that is Abyssal Strike. This makes our Infernal Strike a much stronger ability and bakes in mobility with AoE damage and even more with talents down the road. Second row is Fallout. This talent is pretty straightforward. Immolation Aura becomes also a survivability skill, considering the basic effect of Shatter Souls is to heal your butt, and the proc to Shatter the Souls has a chance of happening at every damage tick. But of course, it won't stop here, so keep your eyes peeled. Third row we have Flame Crash. This gives your Infernal Strike landings to leave a sigil of flame on the ground. This is the extra oomph I mentioned you will get, making Infernal Strike an even better skill to use. Ideally, you would want to spam this efficiently and always have the mobs, especially in Mythic Plus, dotted and taking AoE damage. Keep in mind that it's always safer to save a charge for the mobility usage. Fourth row gives you two options. The general one you should go for is Fracture. Fracture adds DPS, shatters more souls, and provides synergy with other abilities that require soul fragments. It will replace Shear, and it will have 2 charges and a short cooldown reduced by your haste. The second option is Feed the Demon. This is the defensive option on the row. With lower gear and survivability rates, this option will perform way better when tackling harder contents, be it raids or dungeons. Fifth row you have 2 options again, based on the content you do. When raiding, it's better to take concentrated sigils. It's overall the best DPS choice on the row. Do keep in mind that you remove the ability to properly CC, since you will have to move to where you want the sigils, and in raids you usually don't need to do that. As such, in Mythic Plus, take Sigil of Chains. The utility this provides can only be matched by the Death Knight's Scorpion's Grasp. This displaces all the mobs in the circle to the middle of the circle, stops casts, and lines them all nice and sweet for your DPSers to go ham. Take this in Mythic Plus, and you'll love it. Sixth row has only one viable option, with all of them being already tested by the community. Take Spirit Bomb. It adds decent damage, and the debuff is crazy good for your survivability, especially in AoE situations. Last row, when raiding and pushing high Mythic Plus keys, Last Resort is the go-to. You can proc it intentionally if you can save a wipe or a big cooldown from your healer, or keep it as a fail-safe. The other 2 options are used more in Mythic Plus, and each serves a different purpose, although the majority of the player base still uses Last Resort as the main option. If you want to change it up, pick those up, practice them, and see what you like. Void Reaver is good when you don't plan to die at all, or you know you will not. Soul Barrier is amazing for magic damage, since there's not really much that helps you in that regard. When it comes to gearing your tank, especially choosing your secondary stats, you need to understand what those stats do. Although Vengeance thrives when dealing insane damages, it's not all about the damage when a boss hit can take you down to 10% HP or even one-shot you. The generally accepted stat weights are as follows. Agility at the top, meaning eye level. Agility gives you damage and dodge chance, and it gives you armor through skills and passives. Follow this up with Haste, which is necessary in shaving seconds off of the cooldown of Demon Spikes, Fracture, Immolation Aura, basically abilities that increase the uptime of your mitigation abilities and your overall survivability. After Haste, you want Versatility, which does what it actually means, adds to your DPS output and healing done, and reduces overall damage taken, being versatile. You heal a lot as one of the 2 most reactive tanks in the game, and it's one of the main ways you will stay alive by just getting versatility. Follow that up with Mastery and Crit, which provide DPS but also add to your mitigation with more armor and demon spikes and parry chance. Similar to Blood Decay, when you gear up you have 3 ways to think about your character: DPS output, tankiness, or a balance between the two. The balance boils down to your understanding of your stats and how well you deal with the encounter. This varies from person to person. As far as survivability goes, 2 of the best trinkets to aim for are the Diamond Lace Refract Imprison from Opulence and Buon Samdi's Bargain from Rusticon. The Diamond trinket works amazing the more versatility you have, while Buon Samdi's Bargain can replace the Last Resort talent since it has a similar effect that it procs more often. 2 of the most used DPS trinkets also drop from the raid, and they are Kimball's Razor Claw and Invocation of Yulon. You would want to go more damage oriented when raiding since you have a bit more freedom and the damage intake is a lot more manageable. Any other stat giving trait that is of a high enough eye level will be very good for you, and since you cannot really sim survivability, take them out on a roll and see what's good for you. Onwards to Azurite Traits. The same logic applies as with trinkets. There are traits that increase your DPS output and traits that increase your survivability. You get to choose what you want depending on your performance. However, I will still outline some of the best in the game used by high-end game Vengeance boys and girls. Hour of Reaping is an overall pick you want in all forms of content. Get one of these only since you want the effect on Soul Cleave. The healing is nice, but stacking the trait is outshined by other options. The rest of the slots will be filled by stacks of Rigid Carapace and Infernal Armor. Both give you bonus armor and increase your survivability. When doing dungeons, you could sack one of those above for Cycle of Binding. Yep, only one of them. Stacking the agility effect again is outshined by other options, but the sigil cooldown reduction adds to your utility toolkit. Another one you can have one of is Essence Sever, and again, only in dungeons since it's an AoE oriented trait. For secondaries, take Overwhelming Power and Heed My Call. For additional damage, again at your discretion, or take Soulmonger and Gem Hide or other similar traits for the additional survivability they provide. These are not the only good trait you can aim for, and Vengeance, luckily enough, has some options to choose from. Once you get geared enough, you can even aim for stuff like Treacherous Covenant for that extra damage, but Mythic Dungeons will always challenge your survivability more. Until you get more buffs in 8.2, our rotation remains the same, list of abilities putting Sheer at the bottom. But let's check that priority, shall we? The most important ability to cast, provided you are running the build mentioned, is Spirit Bomb when you have 4 or 5 souls active. After that you want to Fracture as long as you won't cap on pain or souls, use Immolation Aura, again ideally without capping on resources, Soul Cleave next to prevent capping on resources or if you need extra healing, Sigil of Flame next, either the actual sigil or Infernal Strike. In terms of defensives, think of Demon Spikes like you would block. You might have a very hard time keeping it up 100% of the time, so try to match it with insane melee damage windows, since melee damage is the most you will ever take anywhere. Fiery Brand is our 1 minute cooldown that reduces damage taken by 40% from one target. Works best on bosses, and the short cooldown gives you an edge in single target encounters. Lastly, Metamorphosis is our failsafe. Although not as strong as it's going to be in 8.2, it will still boost HP, armor, and pain generation. Since the defensive cooldown kit is smaller for you, try to rotate them efficiently, meaning you will need to know beforehand what encounter you will use them in. The main idea of the build is that Spirit Bomb is your #1 way of consuming souls since it has the most damage. However, if you find yourself in situations where you need a lot more self-healing, Soul Cleave will be more important and will be bumped up in the priority list. In 8.2 you will get a buff to Soul Cleave, so it might actually move higher up, but that needs more testing. And speaking of testing, shout out to Monkey and the Fellhammer Discord channel. These guys have made awesome work in theory crafting and compiling a lot of useful information for Vengeance Demon Hunters. Most of what we have in the guide is based off of that research. Repeating the stat logic, you want to augment your character in conjunction with the stats you want or need more. By default, however, you can still get Pact of Haste as a ring enchant and Quick's Owl's Eye as the haste gem. One slot can always be filled with the Kraken's Eye of Agility though. The weapon enchants I recommend are the Versatile Navigation and Quick Navigation enchants. Again, to further increase the haste and versatility levels that help you so much. Food is feasts. Feasts are life. Or sausages. The bloody kind. Agility is still numero uno, people. Or, grab the best haste or versatility food you have. For pots, get the agility flask and battle potion. I personally do not advocate running stamina ones pretty much ever, since agility scales a lot more with the multiple tools at your disposal. We try to keep our guides concise, fast, and easy to pick up, but don't think that this is all there is to know about a spec. Check the Fellhammer Discord and talk with the people there and you will get more in-depth knowledge. Or, post a comment down below, and I or anyone with the know-how can assist you. When you get tired of tanking with your face, check our Prot Paladin guide and start looking smashing while not getting smashed. Learn your talent's gear rotation and take your Prot Paladin into any dungeon and any raid right now. Shout out to our patrons for their continued support for our content. We love you guys and appreciate everything that you do. And if you want to give a little bit more and become a Marcelian&Online Patreon, check the details down below. Are you tired of having normal clothes on your upper body parts? Well, look no further because now we have an official Teespring link with official Marcelian&Online gear. Get your t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, mugs, and represent your WoW love that you have breathing deep inside you when you go out in the world. Thanks for watching the video and have an amazing day.